this yet. I'm gonna start it up. All right, let's get ready to go here. And
where are we starting in our?
Well, I'm gonna start with the intro.
Okay.
You have the script. You know where I'm starting. We're gonna talk about Veterans Day. We're gonna talk about how we get to.
Okay, so Veterans Day is where we're starting. Okay.
Oh, you know what? It was probably this. Which you can't really see on video anyway, so I'm gonna take off. I'm gonna hang somewhere where you can kind of see it. You can't really see it from up there. Victory.
Sweet victory.
Oh,
what are you doing?
Oh.
You're fired. You're fired.
Oh my goodness.
You're fired.
Why is this stand? The stand is like kind of, because it's supposed to be one of these, that's why.
What?
They gave you a thing that's supposed to be like this, but they put it sideways, so.
Whatever. It was standing fine till you belly bumped it.
I didn't belly bump it, I bumped it with my leg.
Belly bumped it. You know we're recording.
There's no way that was standing fine.
Yes, it was.
It wouldn't have stood up if I was.
Just leave it flat for now, would you?
Clearly.
God.
Yeah. Whatever, that's fine. It's not gonna be shown. I don't really care.
Public statement made for immediate release. What a disaster I was this weekend. Being on the wrong side is one thing, but being on the wrong side of ass whoopings is another thing. I apologize to everyone I spewed the bullshit stats to, as I know they do not. I do know.
You can read that from Ryan.
They do no utility and just cloud the judgment of the otherwise clear-headed. I will be better next time.
You can mention how he's drunk at a wedding right now too, so it doesn't make sense.
Actually, it's pretty well written. I just had to.
You ready?
Sure.
Right. 3, 2. Oh, that's shit.
Nice job. Do we start with a disclaimer from Ryan, or?
No. We'll read that.
You'll let me know
as we get to the picks. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I have to insert music anyway, so. All right, we're gonna go now. Hello, it is Monday, November 13th, and welcome back to another episode of Outside the Coach's Box. Nick and Big B are back as we get set to discuss Veterans Day, college football reaction and picks, the NFL week, 10? Our Coaches Starting 5 is back, which is going to feature athletes in the military. So, welcome back, listeners. Hopefully, you enjoyed the last episode with Ryan, which, before we get into the picks, I'll let you read it now. I did say we'll discuss the picks, but, we're going to talk Veterans Day a little bit. So we got a disclaimer from Ryan to be read that he sent us while he's at a wedding right now. So go ahead.
Yes, I'm not sure how many drinks into it this is, but he does have a public statement made for immediate release from nephew Ryan, or cousin Ryan. What a disaster I was this weekend. Being on the wrong side is one thing, but being on the wrong side of ass whoopings is another thing. I apologize to everyone I spewed the bullshit stats to, as I know they do no utility and just cloud the judgment of the otherwise clear-headed. I will be better next time. Then he throws a bonus pick. Jets defense to score.
Well, a little too late. If he had that one in there, maybe he'd be doing better, because let's get into it. Let's talk college first.
Sure.
We're going to start keeping overall records for picks, by the way. So how we're going to do that is you and me. We don't know. I don't know what we're going to do yet. We can decide together kind of how we're going to get into like what the reward is for the winner of the picks at the end of the season.
Nice thing to do after there's 2 weeks under our belt.
Yeah, and the fact that I'm kicking butt. Actually, no, before we get to picks, that's my fault. Let's talk a little bit about Veterans Day,
Sure.
Which was yesterday. For those that you don't know, Big D is a United States Navy veteran. We have a long line of veterans in the family, but your father, obviously my grandfather.
Over my right shoulder.
Yep, Pearl Harbor survivor, World War II veteran.
Korea.
Yep, Korea. Yeah. My mother's, your wife's father was in the Navy.
No.
I think not Bay of Pigs, but the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah,
he was a plank holder for the USS Enterprise.
Right, and then we got, which is the same grandfather of Ryan's, but Ryan's father's father, so his grandfather, I think he was in the Army. Right? So you have that, and of course you have your brother was in the Coast Guard. 2
uncles in the Navy.
Right.
My grandfather was in the Army of World War One.
You got like family dating way back to like the Civil War, right? So
Yes.
we have a nice, cool
Bunch of violent people.
Yeah. Well, we have a pretty cool Civil War heirloom, little sword, right?
yeah.
Like a saber, I guess they would call it back
From,
then.
from the
right?
winning side.
Yeah, from the winning side, northern side, of course. We were Yankees, hence being Yankee fans.
Yeah, that's what started it.
No, you can't see it, but I mean, completely off topic. But there's a Warrior, a Paul O'Neill little thing that we have in this, as we're enhancing like the ambiance of our recording quote unquote studio. We got more sports stuff. that
So
we
he
have
gets
over
into
here.
this conversation because he's the warrior.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's basically it. We mentioned Yankees.
I do love Paulio though.
But no, to wrap up this podcast, that we want to thank all the veterans for serving and the time they dedicated for us to be free country,
Yeah.
and protecting those around the globe. We are going to get into a coach's starting five at the end of this, where we pick veterans who have played professional sports. I do have a few notes. Actually, I'll mention them now. You got your Coach K's and your John Woodens that won't be mentioned because they never played professionally, but I think deserve a shout out. Because they were great coaches. They played in college. Well, and Coach K did. I don't even know where John Wooden got to start, which is probably bad as a basketball coach in person, but
But he was
obviously
a
I know he used to be
lieutenant
coach.
in the United States Navy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and John. Coach K obviously on, as we like to say, the wrong side of the military here because Navy fans, but obviously
Well,
thanks.
since we're saluting Veterans Day, we'll keep
Right.
he's
Yeah.
on
We'll
the
keep,
right
we'll,
side.
we'll keep it. We'll keep it civil. We'll talk about Army Navy as it gets closer to December 9th. But yeah, no.
I would like to throw out on the
ahead.
Veterans Day thing that it's always a great day to extend our gratitude to the men and women who have served. I mean, currently there's 1.4 million Americans serving in the armed forces, which is awesome. People of all walks of life, and if you add the millions of people who had previously served, maybe even hundreds of millions at this point, but a lot of their sacrifice is taken for granted, and the freedoms that they have secured for us not fully appreciated. So it's great to have Veterans Day, but quite honestly, every day if you see a vet, just thank them. It means a lot to the vets, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you for your service.
My pleasure.
No, and to tie it into sports, yesterday being the actual day of Veterans Day, obviously a lot of people observed it on Friday. But we had both service academies, the Army, Navy, represent well, both get wins. Navy's something like, I think 4-1 now on actual Veterans Day games, not just Veterans Day weekend, but when they get to play on Veterans Day, they're 4-1 with an absolute whooping of UAB.
It's nice to see.
Which, don't give up the ship. I said that on, what was that? I said that on our Friday episode.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it again.
Yeah.
I took Navy. I said, keep the points, or KTP, as
Yeah.
Ryan liked to say. And I said,
FTP.
under. Bang, bang. FTP, right. Yeah. Sorry.
No,
Yeah, it was
I
fuck
was
the
listening.
points, that's what it was, yeah.
I even I gave you a token of appreciation for holding on to Navy after the week before, but it was glad to see them play. They were clicking on all cylinders. They got the run game going with Arlime and Tessa and not so-
Texas, or they always pronounce
They
it
always
wrong.
change it.
Yeah.
Tesla, whatever. But
It's not Tesla, I can say that.
no. The one thing I want them to still find is Fofana. That guy's a beast, and I don't know
He
why
doesn't
he's
play
not
that
getting
much
the reps.
anymore.
I know, but
Which is crazy. I don't understand it. Him and Lavatai are like somehow in Newberry's
Lavatide's hurt and been hurt.
Right, but even before he got hurt, they found themselves
Yeah.
in Brian Newberry's doghouse for whatever reason. Which great shout out to our segment doghouse.
Yes.
I don't know if it's actually doghouse that they're in, but I just find it interesting that for whatever reason they don't play that much, and they were stars. Well, I mean, Lavatai to a lesser extent because he got hurt, but
Yeah.
Fofana carried the team last year.
And he's healthy,
Yeah.
so that's the interesting part. But you were right about the don't give up the ship, and it's in that same vein. We are still alive. Navy is still alive for a bowl game, bowl bid. So it's nice to see them playing for something. And obviously, Army Navy is the big game of the year.
Yeah, I'm gonna say they're probably gonna be in one. I think they're one win away from really being in one. That I know that's only five. That'll only give them 5 wins, but I think because of the new rules for going back like a few years ago, they changed it to where you don't have to win necessarily 6 games, and they won't get a chance to win their 6th game. Because I mean, realistically, I don't think they win against SMU. SMU is just on another level.
So
And then their 12th game is against Army, which would mean if they win that game, they have 6 for the year. So I think bowls are decided at that point. I'm not entirely sure, but I think that's the case.
So the NCAA is a little bit like NJSIAA in the state tournament, where
Oh yeah, I wasn't
you
kidding.
don't have to have the record to be in anymore. If you feel like being in and you're 1-18, it's okay.
Yeah, the only difference is you have to be close enough. Yeah, we don't have to talk about the ineptness of NJSIAA and the NCAA. But I mean, we will actually talk about the NCAA's ineptness in a little bit. But
Yes,
let's
sir.
get into picks since we mentioned it. I didn't finish the week 3-1. My only wrong pick was Penn State's awful game against Michigan, which I'm starting to think that Coach Franklin should not be there. He's something like 1-9 against Ohio State. I think 2-7 against Michigan, and his record against top 25 and top 10 teams is abysmal. So I mean,
And those are the games you got to win.
yeah, exactly. No, it's atrocious, and it does help me with one thing though. I do think Michigan's continue to play a cupcake schedule because they really haven't played anybody worth beating. So that's that. But no, Ryan's apology earlier was an illusion. Oh wait, hold on. Before we get to Ryan's, I will say I got to stop picking against UConn. It's almost unfair at this point. It's like stealing candy from a baby. It's just become too easy. They were minus 35.5 or plus 35.5 against Tennessee. I took Tennessee, which is a lot of points. Tennessee crushed them 59-2 or something like that.
Yeah.
There's 3. 2's hard to get in football when you're that bad, especially on the defensive end. And then JMU was minus 25.5, and they beat them 44-3. So it's easy money. So anybody out there that wants to pick against UConn and make probably $20 or $100 worth of betting, feel free to do it.
Be careful, I got to drive through Connecticut.
Yeah, I
tomorrow.
know. I know some people from UConn too. Shout out to some of the girls on their basketball team who have had the privilege of meeting Zifa and Paige Beckers, but they're really bad at football.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Yeah. They had their glory days, I guess.
When Aaron Hernandez's brother was on the team.
Was that about 10 to 15 years ago? But that's all right.
Yeah. But then we'll get into Ryan's picks. Like, I apologize. He says that he's 1-2. I have him down as 0-3. I have him losing the Tennessee game because I think he said money line for that one. I could be wrong, but either way, I don't think they covered.
No.
Then you have Utah, which they covered. That might be the difference. They covered, but they lost. So if that's his one, then that's one. And then Ole Miss got absolutely just crushed.
I thought, from my memory, he had Utah, and he said keep the points on that one.
Well, he said FTP on that one. So
Yeah.
Actually, I think that might have been the one that I picked, where he said,
But there was another point where he boldly said keep the points, and I kind of looked at him real quick. But yeah, either way, either 0-3 or 1-2 in its college debut.
Yeah. And then after going 1-2 last week, I have you as 2-1 this week. Is that right?
I did 2-1 yesterday. Tennessee being the lone letdown, and we know others who are sad about that as well. But I was really surprised / disappointed that they just didn't compete yesterday against Mizzou. Colorado played Arizona extremely well and covered, as I kind of anticipated they would. And then I told you Georgia was due for a dominant performance, and they absolutely thumped number 9 Ole Miss 52-17, and they will be number 1 after
Ole Miss
this
wasn't
week.
number 9, were they? I thought they were 10.
Ole Miss was number 9. Georgia number 1 after this week.
They were. You're right. They were number 9 in the college football playoff rankings. They were number 11 in the AP. So when I saw the number, you're right. My apologies.
Georgia will be number 1 after this week.
I'm also wrong here. You went 0-2-1 last week. So the standings for college football as I stand right now, we got me at 4-4.
Yeah.
That's a good 50% right there. So I'd like this. I think 57% is like a professional bettor.
Yeah.
I'm not quite there.
No.
I'm also a terrible bettor, so don't listen to anything I say. Although I am 4-4. You at 2-3-1. And again, Ryan and Anthony at 1-2 or 0-3, which
we'll give them the benefit of the doubt for today. 1-2.
All right, we'll give them 1-2
until we can prove otherwise.
Which we'll have other guests join us, and they'll make picks. So we're gonna do a guest overall section, and if the guest ends up winning, then whatever we decide the loser has to do or the winner gets whatever. We'll say that we both have to do if the guest's overall is better than our overall.
Individual overall. So they're going head to head against both of us.
So again, we have our own section for Ryan because I think Ryan will be back. But guest overall is 0-3 right now. We'll have other guests go on make picks. If the guest overall picking ends up being a better winning percentage, because we'll do winning percentage. I always end up picking an extra one.
Then our collective winning percentage.
Yeah. No. Then the rankings. So it's 1, 2, 3. So if the guest
I got you.
overall is
Okay.
1 and we're 2 and 3, like
Okay.
we'll both suffer whatever the loss is. And that brings us to more college football talk at this point. Let's talk about it. I already mentioned Michigan. Let's focus on that because that's gonna be the talk of the week. I think Michigan being not only beating Penn State, but they did so without Coach Harbaugh, who inexplicably, again, you want to talk about ineptness. Sorry if I kind of slurred that together. I am not at a wedding drunk. I'm just here, but he's allowed to coach all week, but cannot be on the sideline.
Yeah.
Again, I say like I'm gonna draw it up like that Michigan's cheaters because I think it's funny at this point. But how can you allow a coach to coach all week? Because that's really when most of the coaching's done at that point. I mean, a lot of the in-game stuff has like clock management and like adjustments that they'll make or the decisions they'll make. But most of the coaching, most of the preparation is done throughout the week. Like think about basketball wise, like sure, split second decisions being made on the sideline are important, and that is something that now his assistant coaches will have to do, which I think most of them should be prepared to do it. And we'll touch on the fact that one bald like a baby in a second, but like most of the coaching is done during the week, so all you really have to do is help the coaches understand, like, hey, if this happens, like, don't be afraid to call a timeout here, like, you know.
Plus, I'm sure you're doing situational stuff in practice where the assistant coaches are the ones being the coaches for that squad, that defense, that offense, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I cannot, and this goes to how ridiculous the NCAA has been for years, going back to their like stupid cream cheese rule and like how you know. If you
But this isn't the NCAA. This is the Big Ten.
But they're an extension of the NCAA.
Yeah.
Like they have the board of governors or like president gets elected like the same way the NCAA does, and like. I can't understand it. Maybe it's the Big Ten trying to like come down hard that way. The NCAA doesn't really have a say. But at this point, if I'm Jim Harbaugh, no matter what the decision is, I'm gone. Chicago, Arizona. I mean, Arizona just hired a new person, so they're not hiring. But I mean, Chicago seems like the likely choice. He played there. You know, he's had familiarity in the NFL before. Like, I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm see you later. There's no way I'm dealing with the year-over-year turnover that you have to worry about, like recruiting your own players to stay because of the new free agency rules. I'm not going out there and now recruiting new players to join me, and then of course the transfer market when I can just sit back, coach a team. Sure, you probably have to deal with some like a little bit of ego here and there from you know grown adults and everything that think they deserve more or like actually deserve more because they're playing or whatever, and then it's a little bit easier in my opinion because they get contracts. You know, you're signed for 5 years. I'm sure you have holdouts and everything like that, but it's not the same. It's not okay year-to-year contracts like these these college players essentially.
Right.
So I don't know. It seems easier to me. You don't have to recruit. You get to stay at home. You know, you get to really just focus on football, which I think is what a lot of college coaches say when they jump to professionals, whether it's basketball, football, whatever. I think that's the thing, but I also don't have to worry about it. I mean, Goodell's an awful clown too, but like that's a whole other conversation for another day. But it's just one clown versus now the Big Ten, the NCAA, and all like the the college football playoff rankings. You don't have to worry about that either.
Yeah.
Right? How do you make the playoffs in the NFL? Win. Right? Like I mean, go ahead. Like you go. I've talked enough on this.
I just feel like the Big Ten. It was a gutless, premature suspension of Harbaugh, and it wasn't even an effective one. I mean, if you have enough evidence to support a suspension and you're an organization, then suspend him completely. This 1 foot in, 1 foot out is just another example of feckless leadership. If you don't have enough information or evidence, quote unquote, to suspend him completely, then you wait until it flushes out and you make a decision on it. It's crazy because I know of coaches, and you do as well, who have done a lot less and been suspended more severely. And it's just another example of a feckless organization playing cover your ass, decision making instead of leading.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like you said, we both seen it. Like, there's nothing worse than just coming to a snap judgment without actually having all the facts in front of you. and feckless is the great word to use. Like, let's say like your good coach's like SAT word of the day. I actually love that. So Will Wishart, who's going to be coming on the show probably sometime after Thanksgiving, but he would always like say that, like he'll drop a word in practice and then it'll be like your SAT word. That's a great word to use. Feckless leadership is a great way to describe a lot of this, because that's what it is. Like, it's no backbone. It's not backbone enough to stick with a program in your conference. It's not enough backbone to stick with a coach who, again, and say what you want. It's like such a bad cop out. I had no idea what's going on. Like you said, the
I
other
hate
side,
that too. That's the other side of
yeah,
it.
that's the Patino and everything like
That's
that.
a lack of accountability.
But still, like, if there's no evidence, right? Like, we've seen it tons of times that, like, stick by the people until there's actual hardcore proof. And granted, again, we don't know the whole thing. There could be hardcore proof. Like, Stallion was on the sideline.
Okay,
Again,
then suspend him. Listen,
right.
if he did it wrong,
Well,
suspend him. End it. Done.
Michigan, I think, suspended him with pay, or put him on leave with pay, and then
I'm
of course
talking
he
about
got
Harbaugh
fired.
though.
Oh,
if there's enough to make the judgment and suspend
Well, then they
him,
did.
then do no.
Oh, you're talking about the way they structured it. Yeah.
Don't,
I gotcha.
To your point, he's coaching all week long, so his fingerprints are still all over the football team, right? Suspend him. And anybody who's involved with it. And if you're going to go that far, then you need to apparently go after Penn State and some of these other Big Ten teams who were using those same videos.
Well, they weren't using the videos. They were communicating to each other the signs of Michigan.
Same thing. Same thing. I didn't give
it
you
was
the...
more likely then.
I didn't do the test for you, but I gave you the test that was being used.
Yeah. Well, I've been there.
But at the end of the day, it's just it's another organization who's afraid just to put a stake in the ground and say, this person is either innocent and we're going to support him, or this person, we have enough evidence to show that this person is guilty and we need to move on.
I think the only thing that the Big Ten's not going to get a lot of pushback on is because a lot of people see him as guilty. Like, he was innocent, and we've seen that too, like tons of coaches who have been innocent and have been accused by an entity or an individual of things, and like there'd be no evidence whatsoever, or counter evidence to the point of them being actually innocent, which is so ridiculous they have to prove innocence. But like the fact that like that is right.
Well, and that's at the core of it all. Whatever happened to the American justice, innocent until proven guilty?
Well, we don't have to get that far, because this is even a legal. I mean, well, it is a legal entity, but like it's not a law enforcing entity. Like it's the.
But it's a principle. It's a principle in this country that you're innocent until proven guilty.
Well, it doesn't carry over to sports. I mean,
it doesn't carry over to much.
To be fair, I mean, how funny is it to drop OJ jokes, right? Like, he was actually proven like non-guilty, so like, but we still drop it. So
if it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
That's right. Which again, we can spend enough time on Michigan. I think I've put them in my doghouse like twice in a row, and it's always fun to poke fun at. But at some point, you just gotta let them play. Like, whatever happens.
Because at the end of the day, it's not on the kids.
No, it's not.
So they should have the young men. They should have the opportunity to go out and earn their stripes, regardless.
Yeah. That being said, they do have some big games coming up. Obviously, they got another cupcake game in between. But in 2 weeks, I think it's 2 weeks, they play Ohio State, who looked all the part. Again, I know they didn't play like the cream of the crop team in the Big Ten.
That matters.
No, but you got to put those teams away. Like today, and again, we'll touch on it, when the Cowboys absolutely smacked the crap out of the Giants. Like, you got to beat those teams, right? So like that's what Ohio State did, and which brings me to my point. I don't really want to focus on the team so much. I want to focus on one individual. And I was actually wrong. I gave you a wrong stat yesterday when we were talking about it. But the most recent wide receiver to win a Heisman is Devonta Smith. But it should be Marvin Harrison Jr. this year. The dude is a dude.
He's put himself in the conversation, deep into the conversation, for sure.
It's unbelievable what he does. I think he had like 178 total yards in that game, and he's had like over 100 yards every game except for, I think, Rutgers, when it was kind of sloppy. It was a rainy day, and like you can say that stuff, but like it's not a game that you really need to worry about. But he showed up in big time games. He showed up against Penn State when there was like almost nobody else McCord could throw to.
Yeah.
I mean, if he shows up against Michigan, he's at least got to be a finalist. He's got to be invited to.
I was just going to say that's what he needs to do, is have a game against Michigan.
Yeah.
To put a stamp on a great season.
And the Big Ten championship will be there before there as well. So if they're in there, have a big one. But like, I was looking it up because I was interested to see like what the qualification, quote unquote, is for Heisman. Like, how do they clarify it? So like this is directly from their site. So the Heisman is awarded for outstanding performance which best exhibits the pursuit of excellence with integrity. Winners epitomize great ability combined with diligence, perseverance, and hard work. I don't know about his work ethic and whatnot. I'm sure it's great. His dad obviously played in the NFL. But he is the best, the clear-cut best player at that position, to the point where people are talking about him going number 1 in the draft. I mean, you don't really see that a whole ton out of receivers, like that type of talk, that are like number 1 overall pick. And then on top of that, I think you might get the benefit of there not being a clear-cut quarterback this year. Like, sure, Michael Penix is doing really well. You got Caleb Williams, who's kind of like, his team's kind of played him out of it. I mean, he did have a stinker against, who was it? Was it against Oregon? No, they just played Oregon. I forget who it was against. Maybe it was against Utah. But like, he was still in the conversation. You got Bo Nix from Oregon, but again, him and Penix are going to see each other again in the so like.
And there's not that crushing running back either.
Right.
That could be thrown in.
Oh, Ohio State. Oh, not Ohio State. Oklahoma State, which I forget his name. It's Oklahoma
They got
State.
spanked by UCF yesterday. That whole team should be off of any list.
I'm sorry, maybe it was Oregon State then. It was one of those like orange and black teams. I honestly, like, individual players for college trip me up every once in a while, so I don't remember. But other than him, again, not the notoriety, right? Like, Marvin Harrison has the notoriety. He's an outstanding player, 110%. I mean, I'm a sucker for Ohio State wide receivers. Like, you know that I've wanted the Cowboys to draft Olave, Garrett Wilson, like, you name it. I'm like, Cowboys should get him, and they're usually from Ohio State. I mean, obviously, shout out CeeDee Lamb, who's from Oklahoma, but they have just such a good core, and of course, I like their cornerbacks too. But
they're known for their receivers. I mean, it's like Penn State with their linebackers, or Notre Dame with the offensive linemen, you know, or tight ends. At
the very least, he deserves the Chuck Banderick Award for wide receivers in college, the best cut one. It's surprising how none of those players that I just mentioned, by the way.
Yeah. Is that the Fred Biletnikoff?
Yeah, Fred Biletnikoff. Yeah. Sorry, the Banderick one is the linebacker. My apologies.
Narek.
Yeah. Narek. I emphasize the
He's
A.
a Pennsylvania boy.
Yeah, I know. He's also potentially on the list of veterans later.
I know.
Yeah. So, so the Fred Biletnikoff, you're right. The Fred Biletnikoff Award has only been won by one Ohio State wide receiver in the last like 20 years or something like that, and it's Terry Glenn, which is crazy to me.
She won that, huh?
Yeah, she won that. Yeah, Bill Parcells, shout out. I don't know, anything else from college football you want to talk about other than the fact that
you know, Air Force struggled a second loss in a row, which they went out to Hawaii.
They hate us, man. Air Force hates us.
Well,
we were talking so highly about, as you'd like to say, civilian you.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's like a nice little insight.
But on Veterans Day Veterans Day weekend, it would have been nice for all the service academies to win. But they did not play well against Hawaii.
No, they didn't play well against Army 2 weeks ago. They didn't play well against Hawaii last night, which is an 11 o'clock game. Anybody try to stay up for an 11 o'clock game and watch? Like, how are you a Hawaii fan if you're not in the state of Hawaii? You you have to be a West Coast person, right? Like California.
Could be somebody transplanted, moved to New Jersey, New York, or something from Hawaii.
Can you imagine growing up in Hawaii, being a Hawaiian Rainbow Warriors fan? I think that's their mascot. And then moving to New Jersey and staying up at 11 o'clock to watch their games.
That would stink.
Yeah, first of all, you wouldn't do it.
You'd be passed out. Personally, no. It's past my bedtime.
Yeah. But no, it was. I tuned it on. And I was falling asleep like during the second half. And I was like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. I just can't do it, Captain.
And I did, to wrap up the NCAA, I did say that Georgia will be number one after this week. I think you kind of glossed over that twice.
No, it's not going to happen.
I'm telling you.
It's not going to happen. They deserve it.
They should be back. They just knocked off 9 and 12 back to back.
It's not going to happen because Ohio State's impressive win. If Ohio State came out there and struggled. Oh, shoot. Who did they play again? I actually forget. That's so funny.
Not a ranked team, I don't believe.
No, but again, I don't know.
The whole argument to you about them jumping Georgia to begin with was because Georgia hadn't played anybody. Well, Georgia's now beat in consecutive weekends number 12 and beat number 9, 52-17. They should be back at number 1.
I mean, it's debatable. We'll see. I mean, I'm still hoping for the fact that we get all undefeated teams in the playoffs, because that would be awesome. 4 undefeated, like, that'd be unquestionably.
That'd be great.
Because, and again, you can't question who would be in there then, right?
Yeah.
Because Washington.
Other than JMU, who doesn't have a shot, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. Again, that's unfortunate for JMU, but you wouldn't be able to question Georgia if they stayed undefeated and being in there, and they're like, oh, maybe Alabama should get a shot. They would have had to beat Alabama in the SEC championship game. Right. you wouldn't be able to question either Ohio State or Michigan because they would have had to beat one or the other, and then win in the Big Ten championship game. You wouldn't be able to question FSU because they would have been undefeated, won in the ACC championship.
Yeah.
And again, assuming it's Washington filling in that number 4 spot, because Ohio State or Michigan knocking off one or the other, they would have had to beat Oregon twice, won the Pac-12.
Yep.
Like,
No, it'll be interesting to see if everybody's undefeated. But
yeah.
let's move on.
Yeah, NFL time, NFL picks. Let's review again. Let's start with Ryan because he did lay out that perfect apology at the beginning of it. He went 0-3 here. He picked Ravens under, did not hit. Jags +3, and
Wow.
like Niners look
Niners
scary.
are back, and that defensive line is even more scary.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean Chase Young and Nick Bosa coming off the edge. I've been a Chase Young guy again. I don't know what it is about Ohio State. I've just been a big fan of theirs for a while.
Paul O'Neill's from Ohio. That's what it is.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, but they look so good today. Scary good. Like they look like the team that clobbered the Cowboys today. They haven't looked like that team in a while, and there goes my stat that a team hasn't won since being the Cowboys. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes. I am excited to see them. They will be playing the Eagles before they come. The Eagles come to town in Dallas. So
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting 3 weeks before we see the Eagles again.
yeah, smack them around a little bit. Have the Niners smack them around.
Game
a
of
little bit.
inches last week. Let's hope it changes the other way around.
Absolutely. So let's talk about your picks now. What did you go this week?
So I was 2-1. I
Mhm.
lost the Bengals pick, and that unfortunately cost your sister Caitlin her survivor pool pick. So sorry, Caitlin. Coach Taylor, to me, I think blew the chance to win that game with the play calling and clock management toward the end when they were actually had the opportunity to go for the tying field goal. But they were down deep enough and had enough time on the clock to where they could have mixed up the plays, got some running in, and eaten up clock, forced the Texans to use some timeouts and potentially even score a touchdown as opposed to the field goal. Way too conservative for me. They played for the tie in overtime, but left too much time on the clock with a team that had 2 timeouts. So, and then they ended up losing in regulation, which they shouldn't have. So I lose the Bengals. Steelers win in cover versus Green Bay. You're giving me my first NFL win.
Hey, there you go.
And
Kudos
then-
to Big D.
Not there we go, but here we go.
Yeah, Dak Prescott, baby.
Cowboys, Dak, the receivers, CeeDee Lamb and Cooks, and the team was clicking outside of that first going forward on 4th down, 4th and goal.
I didn't mind though with Danny DeVito behind center for the
Yeah.
Giants.
But the Cowboys almost lapped the points we were giving at 16.5. They ended up winning by 32, I believe. So very good performance. Happy to see it. Great bounce back from the Eagle game, and so we covered at 16.
Can you just give respect to the Cowboys now? The self-proclaimed, don't
I
act shocked.
respect them.
The self-proclaimed president of the Dallas Cowboys fan club for almost a year and a half now has been crushing Dak Prescott for not being good or consistent.
Oh, I've never crushed that.
Oh no, you
No,
have.
I've
Don't
never
don't
crushed
lie.
that.
You have.
I've never crushed
You've
him.
crushed him almost as bad
I've
as
never
JP's crushed Joe Burrow.
Nope.
Almost.
That's false.
And
Don't
then-
be fake news. Nick.
No. It's not fake news. It's factual. You've crushed Dak Prescott's play, which last year I think admittedly even he said that he played poor and he was looking to come back at it, which is justified. But the whole season this year he's played very well with a new
Why?
offense.
Why has he played better and very well? I'll even give him very well over the last couple of years because
Let's just say this year because last year
he's
was a
not
down year.
trying to do more than he can in a given situation, which he's needed to mature to.
Yeah.
And that's all. It's not crushing Dak. It's just pointing.
2016 was pretty. His rookie year, he did a phenomenal job in big time situations.
But if you go back to then, he was using his legs strategically when he needed to, and getting important first downs and things like
Which
that.
again, maybe it's the first year that he's had that because last year he was again coming off a major injury.
Yeah.
Major injury.
So it was never crushing Dak. What the disappointment was is in Kellen Moore, his play calling, not unleashing
awful.
Dak in certain areas, not being too inconsistent in going receive or passing when there were some really good run opportunities. So I've never crushed Dak. I wanted him to correct a few things, and right now he's doing it. The game against the Eagles was awesome.
Yeah.
Fell short. Game today, he was outside of one pick and one that should have been picked off. Ball was where it needed to be and got a lot out of his receivers and used his legs.
I think today was a bad game for him from the standpoint of that pick and the other one that he almost threw because that the time of the first pick it was kind of just like a why the hell not right like type of attitude And then the time of the second pick, he was definitely trying to force it to a particular player. And I was like, okay, like, well, let's still go with the flow of the game. But like, he had 404 yards, 4 touchdowns, and then 1 rushing touchdown of his own.
Yeah.
Like,
No, he had a
phenomenal
great game.
game. Which brings me to my picks. I also picked the Cowboys minus 16.5. Win. Pick Cooks anytime touchdown score. Win.
Nice.
Browns plus 6. Win.
Yeah.
The Goonder. Win. The only thing I did not get was Titans money line, and that's because Will Levis thoroughly let me down and almost let me down in fantasy, only scoring 7 points. But man, I gotta tell you, my team is stacked with dogs, absolute dogs. You got Dak Prescott, like I said, throwing 404 yards. Keenan Allen going off.
Keep chirping.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter now. We'll see
I
you in
am
the
a
playoffs.
perfect 10. That's right, 10-0. 10-0 on the season, and I'm so excited to be coming. This will be my first undefeated championship, and I'm looking forward to that. The celebration's going to be fun. We're going to do a parade.
You're going to be the New England Patriots when the hapless Huckleberry Eli Manning scrambles and throws a crap pass. It gets stuck.
You're going to lose
inside
again this
somewhere.
week, so I just, if I were you, I just pray to get
I'll
in
see you in
there.
the playoffs.
Yeah, okay, you may not be there.
By the
That's all
way,
I'm saying.
I do have to, in the tune of Veterans Day, I'd given a shout out to the Alt family on the West Coast. The Steelers Green Bay game. The Steelers won, which means another veteran won, and that my brother served for the United States Coast Guard. So
Caleb should have listened to me. Should have rooted for the Steelers. You're gonna be in for some lean years with these Packers because I don't think LaFleur's the guy. I don't think Love's the guy. I'm sure your dad's saying it's not too late to jump ship and join them.
terrible towels,
So
baby.
yeah, I'm sure black and yellow will look good. So focusing on the picks before we jump into the recap of the action, that puts me at 5-4 for the year. Hoorah! You at 2-4, Ryan at 0-3, and of course that means our guest / only guest is
2-4, but don't call it a comeback.
Again, we're going on win percentage.
Yep.
Throughout the year. So again, I usually sneak in some like bonus picks and everything, which
I had to get my pro legs under me.
Yeah.
And my college legs. I'm good to go.
I'm good apparently. My legs are perfect. So yeah, let's get into some reaction. What do you want to talk about first?
In terms of the NFL? Or
No, in terms of your day, yeah, the NFL. Like what? Come on, I just said. Let's recap the action.
I was surprised at how poorly the Jaguars did today against the Niners. Niners started to click again. I mean, some big plays for Kittle, McCaffrey, Ayuk, Purdy looked pretty good, and that defense is just monstrous. I mean, Warner has been. We've given him, as non-Niner fans, a ton of accolades for that. He's all over the place, but now with adding Chase Young to that defensive line, front seven is ridiculous, and Warner's just going to be even that much more troublesome.
Yeah, at one point today, Eric Armstead on their defensive line looked like he got hurt, and my first thought was like, if they didn't add who they added, that'd be a big loss.
Yeah,
but they
it's
have
okay.
Hargrave, they have Randy Gregory,
Mm-hmm.
they have Chase Young, Nick Bosa. I mean, their front seven is it's like a Madden front seven. It's like some 12-year-old put trade on easy mode and was like, yeah, I'm gonna trade for him and him. That's the only person they're missing, I think, out of like the top like edge rushers over the last few years, like top picks is Micah Parsons.
Yeah,
That's it.
no,
It's crazy.
Lynch has done an incredible job as a GM for that team, putting his coach in a great position to coach easy.
They're scary.
Yeah, it's scary.
I said it last week. The Eagles don't scare me. That defense, that's a scary defense.
Yeah,
Very scary defense. And again, I guess like you said about fantasy football, I guess we'll see playoff time if the Cowboys have adjusted and Dak keeps on playing the way he does, because I have a feeling we will be seeing them either in division or conference around this year. So
yeah, very interesting. Pittsburgh quietly last week at 5-3, a little bit more loud this week at 6-3, and find themselves, just because they played less games, a game behind Baltimore at 7-3, who lost to Cleveland. So that, to Ryan's point, I think the AFC North was in his penthouse last week, or earlier in the week, and that division is winnable for any one of the 4 teams. So,
which brings me to this point actually, and I'm glad you brought it up, because I was thinking about Ryan's comments, and as we were watching the games today, and of course like, we get to watch a multitude of games thanks to NFL Sunday Ticket.
mm-hmm.
But are they actually that good? Are like all the teams in that division that good? Because the Bengals had a stinker today. The Browns came back from a 16-point game and beat who I think is a very fraudulent Ravens team. But is that whole division fraudulent? Like, is there a case that I think I'm going to say right here? I think it's a fraudulent division.
I don't
I don't think
I don't
any of
think
them-
fraudulent's the right word.
Oh, I do.
I don't think they're balanced
Like-
football teams. So
Yeah.
at any given moment, I mean, Pittsburgh's defense is really good.
Their offense is terrible.
Baltimore's probably the closest thing to being a balanced team in that
Yeah.
division, but I think the play of Lamar Jackson to me has always been kind of up and down,
Right.
not
Which
consistent.
is why I've always said he's been a fraud. Like, and I said I pointed to injuries last week, but he had really one good year. I mean, he rightfully deserved the MVP, but outside of that, you just hit it. Like, there's no consistency to his game.
Yeah.
There'll be some times where he'll go off for like 200 yards passing, 250 yards passing, and like 2 touchdowns, and like run for 100, like 15 yards. And there'll be a game where he throws for like 70 and rushes for 50, and they lose because they depend too much on him.
Yeah.
They don't have a valid receiver. I mean, Odell Beckham Jr. might be their best. Oh no, Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is doing a good job this year. You got to give him his flowers. But like, it's just something that I don't trust any one of those teams to go in there, win a playoff game on the road against a good Chiefs team.
Yeah.
If the Bills ever find their stuff. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I would take the Bengals over the Bills right now, not only because they just beat them, because I do think that Joe Burrow is a better quarterback than Josh Allen. But yeah, I just think the whole division is fraudulent. I don't think they do anything. I think it's like the Bengals back from the Marvin Lewis era,
Yeah.
where they'd win like 12, anywhere from like 10 to 12 games, and then get bounced in the first round. I feel like that's the whole AFC North right now. They're very good.
Yeah,
regular
but
season
all
teams
you
beating up on
need when
bad
you're in the
teams.
playoffs is one thing to click well for you, one moment. So Pittsburgh could go into the playoffs and play Miami, and the Steeler defense shows up that day and ruins the track meet or blows the shoe off of one like Tyreek Hill or something like that, and they could win that game.
Yeah, or they could have a home game and have someone like Tim Tebow throw an 80-yard pass to Demaryius Thomas and lose.
Yeah.
Like, sure,
Listen,
you can say that
I'm
about
not
any
saying
game.
they're going to win the Super Bowl. I'm just saying that because of the activity of today, Baltimore losing, Cleveland winning, Cincinnati losing, Pittsburgh winning, and 3 of them only have 3 losses.
Right, but when the end goal is to win a Super Bowl, right? Like, we had this conversation earlier today. Shout out to Megan. It was her birthday today. We had
Yeah,
breakfast
happy birthday, Maggie.
at her, for her. And we were, as usual, as Ryan was saying, we get into like a family debate, right? And it was going, and like one of the things was like how the Cowboys aren't one of the top 5 teams, right? Of course, that we hear that because we're in a family full of
Giant fans.
bitter Giant fans at this point in the season, but they're Giant fans, and it's low hanging fruit to rag on the Cowboys. But like when the Cowboys when we get into it, like what separates these teams from the Cowboys? I don't see it. I don't see how these teams are quote unquote like untouchable or good. Sorry for the dogs, but like I don't see how they're like next level, and the Cowboys are considered not. I just don't see it.
No, I agree with you. I think the Cowboys moving over to the NFC are going to be one of the teams to contend with, and they're finding their balance. Our defense is really, really good. When Diggs went out, there was some concern around what that would do to the defensive backfield, but Blaine has been great, borderline great. Great's probably overstepping, but he's made some really good plays.
But even if you remove this from the Cowboys, right? Remove the Cowboys from the conversation because obviously we're Cowboy fans and that's going to have a certain feel to it. But if you focus on the fact that these teams are considered, a top division because everybody's over 500, is everybody over 500? Because again, I don't know how often they've played each other yet. We saw the Browns and Ravens today.
Yeah.
But are they just playing a bad division? Like the NFC North is not a good division outside the Lions. They're really bad, actually, in my opinion. I think the Packers are a bad team. I think the Vikings without Kirk Cousins are a bad team. I think the Bears, and I think everybody, that's like not a hot take. The Bears are a terrible team. So they're running their way through the NFC North. No, sorry, wrong team. I was going to think of the Chargers, but all I'm trying to say. Oh, right. I was going to because the Lions just played the Chargers today and they beat them by 3. But like, I don't see them as a good division because I think they just beat up on bad teams. Like you mentioned,
Yeah.
the Dolphins. I don't see the Dolphins, who haven't beaten anybody over 500, any different than the teams in the AFC North. I think if you put them in the AFC North, they're also. I mean, they are above 500 in the AFC East, but they're above 500. Maybe the Jets. If the Jets are in the AFC North, that's a good example. I think they're a 5-3, 6-2 team.
Well,
Right now.
I don't know about that.
Why not?
Not the current constitution.
But is Zach Wilson a better quarterback than Deshaun Watson? I think he is. Right now, currently.
And I don't like Deshaun Watson, but it gives me pause to vote for Zach Wilson on any of those things.
All I'm saying is that I think he's okay. Is it close?
Close enough, I guess.
Oh, so
Because I'm not a shot. Like I said, I'm not a Watson lover. I think
Right, but
he's
they
got
have a-
talent, but I don't think he's got the heart.
right, but they have a really good defense, right?
Yeah.
So that's why they win games. I don't see any difference there, and I may get ragged on that, or like people like that listen to this may call me or text me and say like my take on that is awful, but I just don't see it, and I don't. I'm not a Jet lover. Like I always put that tag on you because you always defended the Jets, especially during like the.
And they're winning 3-0 right now.
There you
Go
go.
Jets!
But like even during like the Chad Pennington years, you were huge into like the Jets, but like
I was trying to find a local team to root for.
yeah, and it's not gonna be the Giants. I
Can't
get
be
it.
the Giants.
It's just to me, I just can't understand why the AFC North are getting their flowers right now. I cannot understand why there's so much love for them because I don't see a viable winning team from there, especially when the Bengals have a stinker like they did today against the Houston team. That I don't.
Well, I mean,
think
in the
should-
AFC, it's still the Kansas City Chiefs that have to be displaced, and there are teams who could do it on any given day, but I think the Chiefs are probably the most consistently balanced team, and their offense hasn't even been clicking that well yet.
Yeah, that's true.
So-
But I mean, let's not forget the Bengals have been to 3 straight AFC Championship games, including a Super Bowl visit. Like,
Yeah. No, and up until today, I mean, and we were talking about it this morning. Everybody was on the Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengal
And
bandwagon.
I think he's a good quarterback. I really do.
I do
I
too.
again, top 2. I do. I said top 3, but I was trying to like be nice to Josh Allen because I do like Josh Allen.
Yeah.
But I think he's number 2, right behind, and it's very close. Number 2, right behind Patrick Mahomes. I don't think the distance is that far. Yeah, I have a hard time saying or that that's a good division.
No, I
of the way they
understand where you're
handle it.
coming from. I do understand where you're coming from.
But I mean, so let's shift focus away from the AFC North. I did mention him, C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
Another dog, another dude. Like, dude,
He's all right.
he's all right.
Yeah.
First of all, I think I told you, coming out of college, I thought Justin Fields was a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence. I'll still stand by that take. But
Can't
C.J.
measure him
Stroud,
if you can't play.
what?
You can't measure him if you can't play.
I mean, sure, whatever.
I
mean-
thought Bobby Hurley was a better point guard than Penny Hardaway coming out of college, but Bobby couldn't
poor
play.
Bobby.
Yeah.
Poor Bobby, who's father Dan Senior. No, I'm kidding. But no, I do think Justin Fields will be better eventually, and but C.J. Stroud might be the best Ohio State quarterback to play in the NFL, which isn't
Give
saying
him a
much.
chance to prove it, though. Come on. You know?
I get
Mark Sanchez was the best USC
No.
quarterback to come out.
No, come on.
He took the team to two AFC championship games,
But
then
I
a
think
butt fumble ruined him.
everybody realized it was the defense. It wasn't Mark Sanchez. Like let's be honest.
He was still the quarterback, and he was looking good.
Well, again, I think there's too much emphasis put on quarterback play, especially when it comes to playoffs. Because
Trent Dilfer is a Super Bowl champion.
yeah, I was just about to say that because we were talking about him, UAB
Yesterday,
coach against
yeah.
Navy, which good for him by the way. But C.J. Stroud, back-to-back weeks of just excellent football. He led the drive today to put them ahead. Like,
Yeah.
he's a dude. He is a dude.
Listen, he had a good game today. I'm not putting him in a dude category.
Okay.
Not happening
I mean,
right now. Because then it like everything
you
else.
just gotta hit the dentist screen. You want to crown
like
his ass? Crown him. I'm
everything
gonna crown
else
him.
in this world, if you put him in the dude category, then the dude gets watered down.
But I'm not
Hall
putting
of
him in
Fame
there.
watered down.
I'm not putting him in there.
the best
he's
of all
putting
time
himself there.
watered down.
I'm not putting him in there. He's putting himself
Hall of
there.
Fame. I said that, didn't I?
You did say Hall of Fame, yeah.
Because Joe Namath is in there, watered down.
Yeah, Joe Namath doesn't. I think everybody. He's only in there because
Because he
of the one call.
guaranteed the win.
Yeah,
Good for him.
yeah. I mean, but still, C.J. Stroud's a dude.
All right.
He is.
I'm glad you like him.
And
Listen,
I have to remind myself because I said this a few times to my dogs today as I was watching. Is put CJ Stroud in my fucking lineup. Like, he's been on my bench the last 2 weeks in fantasy because I was like, no, Will Levis he's gonna be a dude. I was wrong.
Yeah.
I was wrong. He had one dude-ish
Yeah.
game, but I was wrong. CJ Stroud has been a dude all season, so like, yeah, I'm gonna say CJ Stroud's a dude.
Well, we'll see. We'll let the season play out.
Yeah, that's fine.
Whether or not he's a dude or a dud.
You may not be able to let the season play out, by the way. Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
He's fired.
What?
He's fired. He needs to be fired.
Oh, he needs to be fired.
Yeah,
He didn't get fired. He won't be fired.
No, I didn't. I would have said he got fired. I just scared the crap out of him. No, he's fired though.
No.
I fired him.
He
Like Vince McMahon style.
They'll finish the year
fired.
with him, and then the funny thing is they could end up being the number one draft or getting the number one draft pick. So what do you do with him and a Caleb Williams? You know, do you let him kind of try to resurrect the program again? Honestly, I think the game's passed him up to a certain respect, and out of respect for him, they'll let the season flush out, and then they just move him into.
He's not gonna want to just be a GM though. He already is a GM. He's a GM of the team.
I'm not saying he's a GM, but there's some title they'll give him and let him stay in the organization.
But you know,
He
there's
can
a
be
team.
Robert Kraft's shoe shine boy.
There's a team out there that's gonna give him a head coaching spot. That's why he's not gonna want to just do it. He's gonna have full control of some other team, probably find some success somewhere else, and then everybody will be talking about how Bill Belichick's the best coach again. Which really, I think it's Andy Reid, to be honest with you.
Yep.
But
I don't think
of the modern
Belichick
era.
ever adjusted to the current player. And you know, last
Patriot way.
last week we paid homage to Bobby Knight, who was arguably one of the best basketball coaches ever.
I think that was 2 weeks ago.
Or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But you know, the one thing that was kind of a downfall for him is he didn't adjust to the current player.
Or at least society.
Society more than anything. Yes, I think his players loved him. But Belichick, I can't even say that about Belichick. There are certain players that love him.
I think it depends on the player. Like, everyone was talking about, again, I'll bring it to UConn. I talk about UConn a lot on the show. I don't know why. But Paige Beckers was quoted the other day in her second game saying, like, and like Gino Oriama as well, you know, great college coach. At least college recruiter. I debate
He's a
on
good coach, too. Great coach. Can't argue with the results. You can have, listen, there's been a lot of coaches that have had great talent.
Jimmy's and Joe's. Jimmy's and Joe's versus X and O's. He has more Jimmy's and Joe's than anybody in college girls, women's basketball. Anybody. It's hard to go up against like
But
three
being
number
able to
one
put
like
those
recruits.
Jimmy's and Janes on the court together
Would be like
in chemistry and
Jenny's
have
and
them
Janes.
win, you know.
It would be Jenny
and Janes, whatever.
Not Jimmy and James, because then you know. But no, but you know, she was saying like how she wanted to like she responds to being like yelled at by Gino, and Gino's response was like separate interviews basically saying like she asked me to yell at her basically.
Yeah.
So my point of like Bill Belichick is like, and your point that you're making, it's tough because some players like that, and some players wilt under like being demanded. So it's like finding that fine line. And the only difference I'd say here, these are professional grown men getting paid millions of dollars.
But
millions.
When you're in a leadership role, or which a coach is, you have to know the temperament and the channel by which you can get through to your players. It's not all going to be the same. So in order to effectively lead them and have them gel to where you want them to be, you have to be able to meet them where they are, and what is going to be the trigger, a positive trigger for player X versus player Y.
Well, that's why he's cut players. Like Ocho Cinco, when he was on the Patriots for a little bit, like cut. You know, who was it? Albert Hainsworth? That whole thing, like cut.
Yeah.
Like he's never had that problem cutting players because they don't, you know, fit the Patriot way.
Into his way. Yeah.
The Patriot way.
Patriot way. I get it.
You know,
I get it.
Those who have become Super Bowl champions.
But I think very few leaders today especially, are successful if it's the my way or the highway mentality.
No, it's true. I mean, Coach K is famous for saying that like he's adapted to
tremendously.
You know, the day and age and the players. Like, you know, he's notoriously had a, you know, sharp tongue or very explicit way of explaining things in practice.
Yeah.
And has shifted to more like team friendly. Especially once he said he joined Team USA, he got a little bit soft. Not softer. Softer is wrong. More friendly or player friendly in his approach, learning players. But
well, and when I know it personally from when I went from coaching boys and young men to coaching young women.
Oh yeah, you just got soft. There's no other.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Soft.
No, but there was a big difference in in how I acted toward the female players versus the male, generally speaking, what I could say and still pull results out of them individually, and more so, I think my experience with the men's basketball is you could say something more broad and have a broader positive impact. Where in coaching women's basketball, you had to almost be a sniper. Like I'm going to say this to that one and this to this one.
I honestly think that's a lot of times, and I say this obviously as a guy, like guys are stupid. You say like something, and we'll take what you say and like try to make it our own, and also like put our head down and run through a wall.
Yep.
Whereas like if you tell a girl something, she might like overthink it or like try to like think exactly what you mean, like what does he
Literally,
mean by
you
that?
want me to run through a wall?
Yeah, and then like
why?
you say run through a wall, they're gonna be like, why would I do that? So like it's just like the different mentality. I think again, girls are smarter, so they'll be like, what do you mean exactly by be in your spot? It doesn't mean like sometimes I think it gets a little robotic.
And there's also
I don't know how we got on this topic, but go ahead.
It works. There's also a false, I especially saw this in the young men. There's a false bravado or confidence that I can do this regardless, and so they don't know their limitations. Where it's the pendulum swings hard the other direction. Where I've had the pleasure of coaching a lot of really talented young ladies who just struggle in believing in themselves.
Yeah.
No matter how much you try to build that up in them, they struggle in believing in themselves. So that confidence factor isn't as strong as it should be.
True.
Or could be.
Which actually is a great segue to the next game I want to cover, and it's obviously the one with the jersey I'm wearing and this, the game that we just watched. But Dallas's confidence has to be through the roof after this game today and the shellacking they did. I mean, like we already went over Dak's stats. Which by the way, today was his 10th 400 plus yard passing game, which is more than
here we go
any other Dallas quarterback all time combined at 9. So all other Dallas Cowboys quarterbacks had 9 total 400 yard passing games. Dak has 10.
Yeah,
most in franchise history, obviously more than. And then with that's surprising. I mean, obviously Troy Aikman had Emmitt Smith, that offensive line. They didn't have to throw the ball that much. Roger Staubach was a different era. Tony Romo, that's a little surprising because he sprinkled in like
he had a 500 game
and
I was
lost.
gonna
Say the Peyton Manning game. Yeah,
that was the most ridiculous loss.
So stupid. The defense was so bad, but the confidence of the Giants has to be in the pit. Like they're so bad.
You could see it in the way they were acting on the sidelines,
so
the look, the body language. I mean, nobody likes to go into anywhere and get their butt whipped,
right?
Let alone by a division rival.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dable's lucky that he had a good year last year because I think New York would definitely be on him more if he had back-to-back stinkers like this year. But I think last year's success will save him from any like negative New York media. But they got to turn around quick if he wants to stay. Yep. And I actually think he's a good coach, but he's got to turn around quick. Otherwise, New York will turn on him quick. Yeah. And I mean, days like today where Dallas had 450 plus passing yards at one point, and the Giants had 17 in the fourth quarter total passing yards. Like. You just can't have that, especially in today's NFL. Like we just talked about Dak's like stats. Like the Giants they're just bad. They're just a bad football team. Which goes to my point. They should have traded Saquon during the trade deadline. Just terrible decisions from the front office.
I think the Cowboys. It was good to see them bounce back the way they did from a game that they had in their hands. And what helps build confidence is you can look at the game they lost against the Eagles and know that it was correctable. There's a few things here that were correctable, and if we had corrected them in game, you come out a winner, and then to bounce back off of that frustration, being literally inches away, and just put a thumping on another division rival is a good thing.
Yeah, it was nice to see.
But don't go backwards. Don't go backwards next week.
They play the Panthers next. Come on.
But stop. It's the NFL.
No, not stop.
It's the NFL. Any given Sunday. So you have to put the throttle down. And then on Thanksgiving Day, you have to just take the wind right out of the Commanders.
Commies are coming to town.
Ex-Redskins.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, again, president of the fan club having doubt, not great.
It's not doubt.
It is doubt.
It's realism. You want to be great, then go out and be great.
They're going to be. It's
don't be the...
They're going to slaughter them. Come on.
Don't be the the AM.
They haven't been that though this year, and that's where your negativity comes in, and it hurts us. It hurts us come playoff time because the quote unquote president of the fan club is negativity.
I am the
Take
president.
that positive
I am
vibes.
the president.
Positive
And
vibes
I will
only.
remain
You're
the
gonna be
president.
you're
You know
gonna
why?
there's
'Cause
gonna
there's
be a
no
coup.
vote.
There's gonna be a coup, and I'm gonna overthrow you because you are not the president of the fan club anymore.
Yeah.
Positive vibes only. Cowboys are gonna go in.
No. Listen,
positive vibes only.
The chief of negative vibes is Uncle John, who's quote unquote Eeyore. When it
Yeah,
comes to the Cowboys,
absolutely.
so.
No, he's like the cabinet. Yeah, you just a chief of Eeyorian is how I call that. But no,
He's our ambassador to Eeyorian.
yeah. By the way, I don't think we focus enough on my pick of the Goonder. I know the European games are over.
Those are good. Well, especially the Chiefs Dolphins one. That was a great pick.
No, the Goonder hit. Which, by the way, the one thing I'm going to miss from European play is the country roads being sang every time.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Like John Denver. Who would have thought? Like it doesn't matter where in Europe. John Denver.
Big hit.
Country roads.
Yeah. Don't sing. Don't sing. Don't sing.
But no, yeah. It was cool how that was sung, and then of course the worst thing in sports happened today when they did the wave during the European game, and yeah, I hate the wave so much. I don't think there's anything else to cover in football
Let's
today.
get to our starting
Sunday
lineup.
Night Football. We will. I have actually two things to say.
Okay.
We don't know if you're going to be around for the next recording, so we may have two guest hosts with me.
That's all right.
It may be you. It may not. We don't know. We're trying to figure out schedule still. So if you hear different voices, it's
I
just
could possibly,
Big D not getting replaced.
depending on when you do it, I could possibly do it virtually. Depending on when you do it.
Yeah, maybe we get you at least in for your picks because I know you have a busy schedule. So that's something we need to do. And then I also have a trade proposal for you. So this is supposed to be my first pick this week around starting five, and because we're doing veterans, I know there's two in particular that I know you want, and I definitely plan on stealing at least one of them. Which one do you want more? Really comes to it because here's my trade offer. Here's my trade offer. Hold on. You can either take both of them. I won't take them in the first pick, but I get the next 3 number 1 picks as we do this, even with a guess.
No.
Or hold on, I'm not done. Or you get the first pick for this one, and I get the next 2 number 1 picks.
No, I'd say let's just roll with it. You earned the number 1 spot.
I didn't earn it. We just
in the rotation.
I earned it by rotation.
If you let me finish, you earned it in the rotation, and just the fact that we're acknowledging these people, no matter what order they come in, is fantastic. So
I mean, yeah, it's personal preference. Obviously, all of them are great.
Plus, I'm gonna try and mix it up a little bit too in terms of sport and experience and where they served.
So, I mean, obviously, again, a little behind the scenes here. We share notes on, we're doing, a skeleton script. That way we don't sound like buffoons up here, kind of give up topics for the week.
That may not help.
Yeah, no, it definitely doesn't help. We sound, buffoons is definitely what, I mean, I know I at least sound like one, especially when I hear myself back. It's one of those things where we share, and I purposely try not putting a starting 5 list out there. That way you couldn't see where I was going. And then I just loaded it with so many people to the point now.
I didn't look at those notes, so
I know, but
whatever you picked is fine.
But I did it just in case. That way you can only cheat off me. But to the point now, I have
I'm
so
not
many.
from Michigan.
Yeah, I have so many. I actually don't know who I'm going with, other than this top pick.
All right.
And I got to go with him because 1, I saw him play. 2, he was my favorite player growing up. But the Admiral, who wasn't actually an Admiral, but the Admiral, David Robinson.
Stole my nickname, that guy.
Yeah, yeah, sure he did.
He did.
He stole it. David Robinson is going to be my number 1 pick for my starting 5. I think obviously he served in the United States Navy.
Yeah.
And he continues to advocate for the military and specifically the Navy. Great ambassador to have for the game and for service academies.
Yeah, from personal experience with David, it would be hard to find a better person on the planet in terms of service, in terms of the way he carried himself, in terms of accomplishment. I mean, on and off the court, he has done a lot of stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, I said it, I had the pleasure to get to meet him a few years ago. He's just even taking the time to talk to me, like, you could tell he's just one of the nicest guys in the world. And, little known fact, before there were alarm clocks in the world, they had Big D waking up at the academy, which is always fun.
Yeah, for just a quick insight to that, I was a plebe when David was a sophomore. We were both in 14th.
No, you don't need to give insight. You woke him up.
Well, and I was in his squad. So being in the same squad, part of his responsibility was to have me at what was called come around, we go through at that time it was the Soviet Union's arsenal, basically their ship silhouettes, their airplane silhouettes, and we had to know them inside and out. So David was my first stop in the morning, but essentially it was pretty low key. Cool guy.
Go ahead. You get two now, and I already know you can just say it. Go ahead. You can go
Yeah,
with it.
I
Also-
cannot, being with my background and the fact that indirectly had a tremendous impact on my decision to go to the Naval Academy. But Roger the Dodger, the original Captain America, leading the Cowboys to 2 victories after serving his full 4-year military obligation. Another fine person. So yeah, Roger Staubach would be my first. And since you took David, obviously I knew I was going to lose one of them. I'm going to go I'm going to go baseball and go with Ted Williams, the splendid splinter, last player to reach 400 in season, 344 lifetime, which is just phenomenal. Especially since in the middle of his playing prime, he served 3 years in the Marine Corps during World War II.
I think that you're going to see that a lot during these picks because that was more commonplace back then. A lot of these guys, I know at least on my list, I have a lot of guys that were World War II veterans that you had to stop playing because, which is amazing. Like middle of your career, you stop playing, you go Navy, Army, you go to serve the military. I don't know how many guys today would do that, and it's just, I mean, they call it the greatest generation for a reason, I guess, right? So kudos to them.
No, he was phenomenal, and obviously a Hall of Famer. But I found out today, which I did not know, he was the winner of the Presidential Medal of Freedom, given to him by President George H.W. Bush.
There you go. All right, so me for 2.
Yeah.
I'm going to counterbalance the fact that you put a Red Sox on this list. I mean, I know it's good for veterans, and with all due respect to, Ted Williams, but I'm going to go Yogi Berra, who served in the Navy during World War II. And by the way, obviously this is respecting veterans, but such an underrated playing career. I mean, I got the privilege of watching his documentary that was in theaters earlier in the year, and my God, I mean, his career stats. I think he might be. I've changed the tune on like greatest players of all time. I think he might be the greatest catcher of all time, and you have to give respect to him today because I know you're a Johnny Bench guy, but it's also the day after Veterans Day. Show the man respect. He's a veteran. All right.
Yeah.
Show him respect. Don't you dare say anything bad about him.
I won't.
Veterans Day.
I won't. I'll give it to him today. He can have it for this one day.
And then see, I either double dip here or I'm gonna kind of try to screw you over here a little bit. I'm gonna go
Playing some defense, trying.
I'm gonna try to play some defense. Although you did say different sports, so that kind of puts it into pressure. Damn. I'm gonna go Arnold Palmer. Palmer, who served during the Korean War. Obviously great golfer. You look up list of names of athletes who served during the military or served in the military. I don't think his name gets mentioned a lot. Like I knew a lot of the names on this list. Yeah. Especially the baseball players. But I was surprised to see him. I was like, oh wow. Like had no idea. And again, that he's a young guy. That's gotta be, again, golf and sports aren't what they used to be, but you gotta imagine that kind of took some years off his career, and God only knows what kind of like career he would have without it. But I mean, again, he made the ultimate sacrifice. Well, not the ultimate sacrifice, but he sacrificed. Self. I don't even know what the word to use here, but like self-indulgence or like self-promotion.
You realize that he could be part of something bigger than himself.
Yeah, which is huge. Yeah. Huge. So kudos to him. Go ahead, you for 2.
No, I'm with you on that. It's funny. I was thinking of playing some defense with you too, and I'll just give him a casual mention. This is not one of my picks.
Oh no! This is pick time.
Okay.
You want to go after? Right. You want to play defense? Play defense. You can't play fake defense.
I got you.
You can't play Olay defense. You want to play defense? Play defense.
No, I'm in.
Then afterward,
come on. Defense is an attitude.
Right, then we'll do it. Afterward, we'll do honorable mentions.
Fine. Then my next 2 are arguably the greatest in his discipline, Rocky Marciano.
Damn you.
Army during World War II. He was the undefeated heavyweight champ at 49-0 with 43 knockouts. And the other part that makes me chuckle is if you've ever seen Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall, when they're in the barbershop and Eddie Murphy's playing like 3 different characters, one of which is an older white Jewish man.
Yeah.
and he starts to bring up Rocky Marciano in the conversation. And one of the barbers like, Rocky Marciano. Every time somebody talks about boxing, you white people bring up Rocky Marciano. But 49-0 with 43 knockouts, you can't argue that.
No, yeah, that's a good one. And honestly, like, I thought I could get him, so I didn't play. Like, that's the guy I was gonna pick when I said I was gonna play defense because he played a little bit. But I thought maybe you would go more mainstream, and Arnold Palmer was like as mainstream as it gets. So yeah, good play.
Then I'm going to slide in potentially another defensive move here because defense is the way I coach, you know. But I'm going with Jesse the Body Ventura.
Damn you, no!
Who was an underwater demolition team guy in Vietnam, a National Defense Service Medal winner, and the former governor of Minnesota.
And of course, former voice of the World Wrestling Federation, and also wrestled against guys like
I knew you'd
Hulk
go to
Hogan. I
wrestling.
can't believe I had it as 5. I thought I'd be able to sneak that in there. That one I will say was also surprising. You know, you don't think of a lot of these guys that have like personalities like that come from like the like I think Sergeant Slaughter, of course, being like a military guy. I think he might have actually been in the military.
I don't know about that.
But yeah, I don't know, and I couldn't find him on any list because he was gonna be like my backup just in case you snuck Jesse in there. So yeah, again, a guy playing like a military guy, and then yeah, Jesse, yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
Damn you.
So now you're for 2. Your last 2, right?
Yeah, my last 2. That one hurt because that was gonna be my last one, and I was gonna throw that in
you
there.
got 3 coming to you, but 2 now, and then I pick 1. And then
No, I only got 2.
1, 2 for me.
I went.
2
My
for
first
you,
pick
that'll
was
be 4.
no. This will be 5. I went David Robinson and Yogi Berra, Arnold Palmer, which is 1, 2, 3.
Oh, okay, that's right. My bad. So your last 2, and then I have 1 more. Right?
Again, folks, English major, not a math guy.
Didn't I had my shoes on, so I couldn't really figure it out.
That's a problem. Oh man, that makes it tough. There's so many good names on this list, and you took one that I definitely had down. I think I'm gonna go the same vein as you did with Rocky Marciano and kind of shout out, my late grandfather here and go Jack Dempsey. I think he was a big Jack Dempsey guy. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong there. I know he was a big boxing guy.
Yeah.
But Jack Dempsey, another World War II veteran who served in the Army and professional boxer. Yeah, so I'll go there.
Okay.
That one kind of threw me for a loop. There's a lot of baseball guys on this list, and I do want to kind of split it up.
Yeah.
But I think all I have is baseball guys left. But I am going to give a shout out to one person who, again, maybe not like an all-time great athlete, but deserves to be on this list because of what I know his wife does with his foundation. And, of course, unfortunately passed away due to friendly fire while in Afghanistan. But Pat Tillman, they do a great job advertising during this time of year for the NFL and their Salute to Service Week. But, Pat Tillman does a lot, and his foundation, through his wife, does a lot. So
you don't have to be shy about adding him because Tillman, in the prime of his career, of his athleticism, of his stature after 9/11 happened, today's athlete, today's people in general, to give up a fortune, basically, in what you're going to be making as a professional athlete and go enlist and serve.
Yeah.
In a very uncertain time. Definitely worth the mention, for sure. For sure. So I have 1 left then.
Yes.
Or did you want to say anything other than that about that?
No, because I don't want to take anybody that's currently on your list or who's going to be your last pick. And we can, like I said, there's so many.
Yeah.
That we can always wrap it up with honorable mentions and of course the fun fact of the week and everything.
So the last 4 options I kind of had in here were all baseball players, and I didn't. I'm going to go with this guy because I didn't know this about this guy. It kind of caught me by surprise.
I think I know who can I guess who you're picking?
Sure.
Roberto Clemente.
Yeah, 10 years in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, crazy.
10 years in the Marine Corps.
That's another surprise, and I almost went with him, but I have Yogi Berra instead. Yeah. So yeah.
Plus, I did already with Ted Williams give a shout out to the Marine Corps, but they're definitely deserving of another one.
Yeah.
So
hoorah! Semper Fi, baby.
So Roberto Clemente, Pittsburgh Pirate, died way too young, but 10 years of his life in the Marine Corps. So
it's unfortunate that again, you just mentioned that you don't know that. He's remembered a lot more for him, how he passed away tragically than either his playing career or the fact that he was a 10-year Marine veteran. How does that not get mentioned at all? But I mean,
and something you'll know once I hand the book over to you, but he was actually a role model of Paul O'Neill's, and the reason why he wears number 21.
I actually did know that already. Because I am a true blue Paul O'Neill fan, unlike somebody who needs
You're
a book
welcome.
to tell them that.
You're welcome.
But let's go over honorable mentions because there are quite a few who deserve it. Again,
Yeah.
top 5 between 2 people. I mean, some of them will be tough when we add a third person. Like we talked about Ryan with movies the other day, but this one was tough because there weren't enough spots to add people. Like I almost considered coming to you and like part of my deal was like, can we add a 6th man? Can we like what can we do? But I mean, I don't know how you want to do this, but I'll start. I mean, Joe DiMaggio, really famous one for leaving during the time of his career, Army Air Force at the time.
Yeah. But
What are you gonna say?
but
You saying that he was protected, like didn't really.
very.
Yeah.
If you read about his
Yeah.
his military career, he I think he served in Atlantic City and one other place.
Yeah.
And was basically in kind of an ad. Listen, he served.
Yeah.
And again, in the middle of his career.
Yep.
So that in and of itself deserves the recognition.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that. But yeah, he was, out of everybody we've talked about so far,
Yeah.
was in a pretty protected position.
And then of course you have another Yankee, Whitey Ford, who served in the Army during the Korean War.
Yep.
Stan Musial, who served in World War II.
Stan the man.
Jackie Robinson, another one, but I don't want to take all of them.
So Jackie Robinson, second lieutenant in the Army.
Yeah.
And actually, you might have read the same thing. His Army career was short lived because he refused to move seats on a bus. From a white officer. So he was kind of dealing with the whole color barrier thing.
Yeah.
And then came out of the Army and obviously made history with the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Which takes a lot of
gumption.
Yeah, I was gonna say cojones, but yeah, a lot of balls, a lot of gumption. like the fact that you're in the military during that time, and obviously not the brightest time in our American history, but like still, like yes and no, right? Because we're fighting World War, but also we have like our own like issues here at home. But like the fact that he had the balls to do that, and of course then go out and I'm sure it's not said a lot, but I'm sure it was said during the time like, hey, this guy was like discharged from the Army or like was like refused to give up a seat for like a commanding officer or something like that. It was probably used against him during his playing career. So I mean, again, he had one thing you can't say about Jackie Robinson is that he didn't have integrity because he had a ton of it. So
yeah,
I mean,
very brave person. And to that point, Larry Doby was another. He was the second man, first one in the American League. A person of color who broke the barrier in the American League in that case, but he served as well.
It was very tough leaving him off the list.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get, I'm a Yankee fan, so I wanted to get Yogi on, and I wanted to diversify, like, no pun intended there, I guess, or no, but I wanted to diversify my picks with sports. But yeah, he was a tough person to leave off. For a multitude of reasons. Of course, he had a stellar baseball career and everything.
Same with Say Hey Willie Mays.
Yeah, another guy. Yep. Korea War.
Yep. So they had a lot of great people, and there were
Leon
a lot of
Spinks is another one. You were a big Leon Spinks guy, right?
I wasn't. No, as a matter of fact, I was a big Muhammad Ali guy, and Leon beat him.
Yeah.
I always remember he missed the two front. He was missing his two front teeth. So when he took out his mouthpiece, I wasn't a huge Leon Spinks fan. No.
Yeah, and then we had a more modern day one, Alejandro Villanueva.
Yes.
Who played for the Steelers. Obviously, Army guy. I think he went to the West Point.
Yes, he's a West Point grad, and actually at one point had the leading jersey sales in the NFL because of his strength in standing for the national anthem. When all that chaos was breaking loose from what's his face.
Again, integrity. I know he tried back talk, like being more team unity when that came out, but I mean, it's hard to not like a guy who bucked a trend and of course honored his military service.
Yeah.
But there's just so many. Again, so many unsung heroes too, like Chad Hennings, who played defense tackle for the Cowboys.
Air Force kid.
Yeah, Keenan Reynolds and Malcolm Perry, who had short stints in the NFL, and again, the list can go on. I mean, Rocky Blyer, who was an Army Vietnam veteran.
Yeah.
Like, there's just so many guys that you wish you could have like a whole list for them. But again, for the sake of the integrity of our list, we did starting 5. But no, I'm glad that we could talk about that because again, they deserve their they deserve
we
their
have
flowers.
to throw in Diego Fagot. Had a brief stint, very brief.
Well, no, he's still technically speaking on practice squad and everything right now. Diego Fagot, for those that you don't know, was a middle linebacker for the United States Naval Academy. He was on the practice squad for the Ravens, I think, last year, and this year he was
Patriots.
But he got hurt, so he's like injured on their practice squad. There's like a designation in the NFL that he can still be on like the practice squad, but not be signed or like active, or I don't know. There's something weird about that.
We can't, for the sake of our family, ignore the fact that Phil McConkey was a vet,
Right,
who actually
right.
has a Super Bowl touchdown. So
Yes, that
yeah.
is true. Well, I mean, we don't talk about vets that had Super Bowl touchdowns. We can talk about Roger Staubach all day.
I
Like,
understand.
but yeah, no, we'll go to this. In 1985, Dwight Doc Gooden, the youngest 20-game winner, wins his first Cy Young Award. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and follow across all platforms.
Appreciate you. Thank a vet.